right.
Oh, the guy's not here yet stuff.
We're good. We can call the order.
Call this meeting to order. I like it when you look at me. Say something, so. Can I have the roll call, please?
You may. Chris Thomas,
Here.
Jeff Martin,
Here.
Bill Rowe,
Here.
David Rowe is absent, Susan Ralston. Here. City Attorney Kim Schauf is absent, Director Aretha Hicks is here, Planner Grace Essman. Here. You do have a quorum, sir.
Yay. We need some approval of minutes. Do we want to do these individually?
You can just ask for approval for both, that's fine.
All righty, has everybody had an opportunity to peruse the minutes of September 22nd, 05, or 25, and October 27th, 2025? You can tell I'm getting old.
Yes.
Yes.
I move to accept the minutes.
I will second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, the same?
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Do we have any old business?
We have no old business, sir.
Do a little new business.
I can do elections unless you want to do them. So we have chair, vice chair, and secretary. Currently our chair is Bill Rowe, our vice chair is Chris Thomas, and secretary is myself. I'm going to pass that baton to Grace this year, so we'll do that nomination. And Grace will be the secretary, but do we have any nominations for chair? We're going to open the floor for that first.
I would nominate chair. Continued chair.
Continued chair. Phil, do you accept that nomination? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. And vice chair, do I have a nomination?
I nominate Chris Thomas.
I'll second that.
You got off the hook.
This time.
All right, and secretary? We'll nominate Grace.
I'll
Can you do
second
that? Are you allowed to
No,
nominate?
go ahead.
I would nominate Grace.
Thank you, and Susan will second it.
Susan second.
Any opposition to that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed, no.
And Chris, you did accept your nomination? Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Okay.
She doesn't ask me.
I know.
I don't ask you.
I get the same
but-
treatment. You know what?
Okay, so elections are done. Do you want me to move forward or you
Sure.
want to, okay.
Yeah, sure.
So you guys do have BZA rules and procedures in front of you. You have several things. You have the meeting calendar, so you guys can stick that on your fridge or somewhere.
Should I tell Dave that?
How far, it depends on how far away he is, I guess, but. So, and then you have the rules and procedures of the board. We'll go over that variance list in just a second, but, so rules and procedures have not changed at all. We just wanted to send them at the beginning of the year, make sure everybody has a copy. And there's only one thing I think that Grace saw that we might even update, but I don't think going through this one, unlike the plan commission ones, that we had anything. Is that right, Grace?
Yeah, there wasn't anything that I saw that needed amended.
Okay, so if for some reason you think that there is, if we missed something and you guys do take these home and you look through them, send Grace an email. But I think that they are good to go. So the next thing in your packet, I think is your next thing. You have this chapter 2 basic Board of Zoning Appeals stuff. This is this is a quasi judicial board. You guys know that we have to be very careful not talking to each other about things, what we're looking at. If they appeal to us, they go straight to court. So there's a lot that, we need to abide by. This is just kind of the basics. And I'm assuming all of you got one when you were appointed to the board. If something similar to this, if not, we can talk about it. If you look through this and you've got any questions, I mean, it is, again, it's the basics of BZA, but look through that. If you've got questions, let us know. You guys also have this variance list. So this year, and Grace did all this today, which is pretty awesome. She showed our 2023 variances, 2024, and 2025. So in 2023, we had 25. 24, we had 19. And come on in, David. No, you're good.
Next to Susan.
Sorry. Grace, can you let the record show that David came at 5:35? 36, 37, whatever. Sorry. So David, we were just going through the pack. You're good on some of these things. How are you? Happy New Year.
Good, sorry, I totally had the day off and lay around the house. I'm going,
What do I have to do today?
Now you're smart, because we voted on the officers and you got out.
Yeah, you got out of it. Usually if you're not here, you get nominated, so.
You made it.
So we were just starting through the packet. David, you'll see like the meeting calendar, so you can throw that on your fridge.
Very good.
You've got, and I think I gave this to you, but the Board of Zoning Appeals basic information, so just about being on the BZA. The rules and procedures are also there, so we said just to take those home and kind of read through.
It has to be late.
Yeah. Okay, so we are in the process this year. One of Grace and I's endeavors is to update our unified development ordinance. So most of you know, and I'm going to just walk through this with you really quickly, is on our main screen, and I have a hard copy here as well, but on our main screen under municipal code, you will see, if we go click again on municipal code, what Grace and I govern regularly for developments, anything, is Title 18 Unified Development Ordinance. So this gives us kind of, as zoning administrator, what my title is, this is what we look at for everything. So if somebody comes in and they apply for something, we go to this and say, okay, here's all the different zoning codes. What are you zoned? What are your development standards look like? What are you allowed to do? What aren't you allowed to do? Which is when they come before you guys. So if you look in 2025, we did sign height, driveway width, front yard setbacks. I haven't been able to talk all day, so I apologize in advance. So if I look at, like, let's just go to single family residential. So R1, low density, single family residential. When Grace gets a staff report ready and we kind of pull all of that, we always tell you guys what they're zoned. We always tell you what standard they're applying a variance for. So we may say it's zoned R1, 18.40. We may say that the variance is, if we go down here and say, here's all the development standards, 18.40040 A. The minimum lot width required is 100 feet. They may have a small lot and they want to build on this small lot and they're building in this residential development at R1 and they're like, this lot's only 50 feet. I think I can make my house work. We would say you need a variance from development standard 18.40040 B lot width. Can you make this house fit and still hit the other setbacks under 60 feet, let's say? So we're looking at, here's where the setbacks are. Front yard setback is 35. Side yard is 5, I can't read that.
8 feet for
8
primary.
feet for primary, 5 for accessory, and then rear yard setback. So they're gonna see if they can fit their house in that. If they can't, we always try to help them make something work. We always say, hey, if you do this, or, I mean, lot width, you're out of luck, kind of. But we look at things if it's setbacks and say, like we did 3 side yard setbacks. Hey, if you can move the house here, if you can do this, you might could avoid a variance. If you absolutely can't, everyone's entitled to apply for a variance. But approval is not automatic, and we always tell them that. Grace and I don't vote. You can go to a board, you can ask for a variance of these development standards, but you have to prove your case. You have to prove your hardship for a variance. So you have to say there is a reason other than financial that I cannot meet these development standards when building my house. So that's when you guys see people apply to these variances. So if you kind of look through here on the history, what we've been doing when we're looking at updating some of these things in the UDO is we've been going through and saying, what are some of the main variances that we do and why are we doing them all the time? We had 3 side yard setbacks, 2 driveway material, 1 driveway width. We had several driveway widths another year because we did a whole mass one for Eastland Crossing. I'm looking at some of these other ones, another driveway width. So that's one of those variances that we feel like we're doing all the time. New houses are being built and they all want this 3rd bay. So what happens is we say you can only have 20 feet coming in and then you can widen. Well, what happens is then they're backing out and they have to make this curve and try to get around. So after talking to our engineering department who does those permits for street cuts and our street department, they're like, we don't have an issue going 30 feet. It's no big deal. Well, can we change that to make that easier? Because we've done so many variances over the years. So those are things that we are reviewing right now to do some updates. Another one, some of you may not remember, Jeff, you might being on Plan Commission, but there was a time when we did a bunch of 2nd floor remodels for downtown commercial. Everybody was doing their apartments on the 2nd floor. Wagler did that one building at 110. He did 10 units, I think. Is it 110? He did 10 units. We had a couple here above Bracey's, I think. And then even West Commons. So our minimum requirement is 800 square foot for a downtown commercial apartment. We were doing variances left and right. When we did the PUD advanced property, that whole PUD, none of, they weren't meeting 800 square foot for those studio units. A lot of variances, every one of Wagler's had a variance. They were all mostly studio, 1 bedroom. They were under the 800 square foot. So we started looking at that. Grace and I called on Friday. We called West Commons, we called Village Green. We looked at floor plans for Crossway apartments. We looked at other cities' UDOs and all were under 800 square foot. Why are we doing that? If they're having to do these studios and people want to live in these studios and they're 500 square foot, why can't we do that? So that's another one that we're looking at. So that's what we're doing, is we're trying to go through and say, hey, what makes sense? What can we do to kind of eliminate having to do variances for things that make sense? If it's a safety issue, a life safety or health or, anything that we think could be a problem, we're not going to update this. But when we go through here, another one that you guys have heard me say multiple times and that we've dealt with is somebody building a house in the ETJ and they have a 1/4 mile driveway and our UDO says everybody has to hard surface. How many times have we said, it's what the UDO says, but are we really concerned on the county roads that are out a ways? There's no storm drains. The county doesn't have that requirement. Why are we going to make somebody hard surface a 1/4 mile driveway? So there's some of those things that I think we can update safely that make sense. There's other ones that I am hiring Abin Marsh, who I just worked with our TIP district, to help us really dig in and look at, because we don't want to change something and have it affect something else negatively, like lot coverage and stormwater, things like that. So we're going to do a deeper dive. We might ask for volunteers. If one of you, I'm going to look at maybe somebody off of BZA, somebody off of Plan Commission that may just want to sit, I don't mean a whole extra committee and taking up your time, but maybe when we get to a point where we're like, hey, we've got some of these changes, we want to run them through ask somebody to sit with us and go over that, because we don't want it to just be us. We want your guys' opinion as well. So, and then when you change a UDO, you have to take it, get a recommendation at Plan Commission, and it has to go to council. So it's not like we can just do this without anybody anyway, but, so again, looking for our codes, when we give you those staff reports and we have these variances, this is where you're gonna find any of that. You can always ask questions if you want to look it up for yourself to see, development standards, plats, everything's on here, that we do for anything. I mean, it's all on here. This is what we govern. So this is where you will find it. But this is what we want to update. And I will tell you that the whole entire state right now is kind of, and other planners and other communities, we're all getting a push. People want higher density housing. They want more housing. It's been kind of, they want affordable housing. How can you do that if you've got to have lots that are 100-foot wide? Can we do it 60-foot? Like, what does that look like? And so there's a big push to do some updates in some of these areas. Grace and I have been talking about this since she started. And Brett and I talked about it before that. So we've already been looking at some of these updates, but we're gonna do kind of that deep dive at some other ones as well, just to see what we can come up with. Does anybody have any questions about that? Any concerns, any thoughts?
So is this kind of bringing things up to today's standards? Some of these are just kind of been there for years and years and years. So when you do that, like you said, you got input from the street department and such, that they didn't have any problems with widening. So is that, you would go directly to a department that potentially would be affected to get their opinion?
Yeah,
Correct.
I would do that. If we were going to maybe change setbacks, one that I'm looking at quite honestly is lake residential. Fox Lake is our only lake. We haven't done a lot of building there because those lots are very, very small. They were platted that way. Can we allow shotgun houses? Could we fit them on? Right now, our setbacks are 8 feet on those lake lots. I called the county. I talked to another community that has a lake and said, what are your guys' setbacks around your lakes? 5 feet. The county is all 5 feet. They're not 8 feet. They're 5 feet from setbacks. It gives you 10 foot in between a house. I would talk to our fire department. Can you get an apparatus through at 10 feet? Does that make sense? What's that gonna change? If we allow building on a smaller parcel, what's that lot coverage look like? Cause we're, you know, if you have snow melt or rain, where does your stormwater go? So are we creating a bigger problem if we're allowing them to develop on the smaller lots? Could we just change setbacks and make that easier? You know, what could we do for that? So there's just a few things like that, but we will not, Grace and I won't make, I mean, unless it's just a basic text amendment that we think is real simple, we would not make anything without talking to other departments. And we thought too, like I said, maybe we're gonna say, hey guys, we're getting into this, we're ready to have just a couple meetings and show people what we're doing, maybe a volunteer from here, a volunteer from Plan Commission. Like, let's look at this together and just make sure that it makes sense to you guys. So yeah, I don't know if I wanna say we're bringing it up to today's standards, but you guys know I think I've said this before. Grace and I meet quarterly with planners in the Northeast region. There are some communities, and I'll say Allen County, City, Fort Wayne, they have a whole team and they are continuously updating their UDO. I don't want to do that. Our goal is to do like a big one, maybe hit some of these things that we can change quickly within this first 6 months of this year, maybe the first 4 or 5 months if we can get it done, and then do a bigger one toward the end of this year. And then maybe here on, like once a year if we need to, if we feel like things need to be changed. I don't want to change it for every trend and every complaint that we get. I mean, we do a lot of landscape variances and development plans, and we do a lot of landscape waivers, and we've done a lot of things. Can our landscape ordinance, maybe it is pretty robust and maybe it's a lot when you're developing. We're gonna talk to some people, talk to Matt Hanna, who already said, yeah, there's some things that could be changed. Like, so we're gonna look at some of those bigger ones, but I don't wanna do it to every single trend because I feel like then we're gonna be changing it back. Right. And City, Fort Wayne, Allen County, they said, you know, they've got the team, they've got the manpower, they could do that. They don't worry so much. I feel like our UDO, and speaking to your comment, used to be kind of the sacred document, and we didn't make, I can think of one amendment that we made from like 2008 to 2010, you know, to 2020. I mean, we just never changed it because it was kind of sacred, but the reality is you just can't do that. Jennifer made some amendments in 2023. Is that when we said they were finalized? And some of those are good. There's some that we have to kind of fix or clean up on that as well. But a lot of those were good things. It's just times they are changing, and housing and developers and the state and people are pushing for a lot of things. So I think we need to go in this direction. I think it will be good for I would not do anything that is not sustainable and is not good for our community. We want smart planning. We want sustainable planning. So that's still our goal. We want to be safe. We're not going to just make changes willy-nilly that do whatever, but we do want to make some changes.
Like you said, you can't unless you get it approved by council.
Right, right. Any other questions?
I mean, it'll
Anything?
promote like growth, especially like Fox Lake. There's so much potential there. So much potential, especially on the North Shore. And I know a real estate / developer guy is attempting to build a home in there, and I think that's a resource that we could really utilize.
And if it's not on the setback side, maybe it could be on the lot adjoining, units, multiple lots combined, without having to jump through all those hoops, to get around some of that.
Yeah.
There's a couple different answers for something like that.
There was a weird standard in Lake Residential. There is a weird standard in Lake Residential that says your first floor setback is 8 feet, but your second floor is 12. Nobody knows why. They're like, maybe the view shed, maybe they thought if they came in on 4 feet on your second story, it would make sense. But there's a gentleman that's getting ready to build, and he's like, hey, what is this? And I'm like,
That's who I was talking to.
and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know if they wanted you to build A-frame that you could only, I don't know. So I said, don't, let me make some phone calls and let me see, because there's got to be a reason, right? I mean, I Googled, I looked at other UDOs, I called the county again, I called other communities, and I called some professional planners that I know and said, why do you think this is? And they all went, I have no idea. Unless it's view shed, unless people thought that if you came in 4 feet on each side, you would protect a view of the lake. I don't know, but I mean, A-frames are great houses, but I don't think you can require everybody to build one. And I don't think so. That was definitely one that I'm just like, I don't know why it's there, and it doesn't make any sense, and I'm not going to make you do that. So we're going to change that right now. As you start looking at plans, don't worry about it, because that just makes zero sense to me. So as a zoning administrator, I made that call knowing that my BZA board would have been totally okay with that. But so there are some like that just don't make sense. I think that all of our standards had a purpose and have a reason, but as things do change, and housing changes and housing needs change, sometimes you just got to move a little with it. And I want to do that. I want it to make sense, but I want to also make developing a little bit easier if I can. So that's our goal. So you will see that in the coming future. But again, you've got this to kind of go through. You've got the rules and procedures. Hang your calendar on, if you do see something in rules and procedures, or you have questions or concerns, if you decide you're going to go through the UDO and look at some things, let Grace know that too. But I think, am I missing anything, Grace? I don't think so. Anybody else? Questions, concerns? You don't like it? You like it? You're okay with it? You think it's dumb? Whatever, you can tell us.
Everything needs to be reviewed periodically.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
Okay. That's all I have, sir, on that.
Works.
I don't have any reports. The one thing that we didn't bring in here, it's a smaller board, I think we're okay. If you guys have an updated email or cell phone, please make sure Grace gets that so we can update it on our board list as well. And we did have before the list of what we had. I think we've got everybody's you've been able to contact, but just in case, just kind of remember that if something does change, make sure that we have that updated info. And I don't have any other reports.
Anything else? Comments, questions, concerns? Excited about your new position?
Same position.
Same position.
Are you?
All right, well, I guess we can just adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for appeasing me and showing up at 5:30 today. No problem. Appreciate it.
Bye.